Good morning, guys. Let's just jump to what we're going to be doing today. What are we doing for this first half? This first half, we're going to be talking about these. This first half, this just came to me. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. There's 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 threats. I may be mistaken for 8. There were 7 threats yesterday. And what was done about it? A lot of things. Jail. So throughout the next half hour, I'm going to try my best to cover all this. So let's begin now with from Kentucky. In Franklin County, Kentucky, police have cleared Western Hills and Franklin County schools after a bomb threat to both campuses Monday afternoon. The district said they received threats at both schools within minutes of each other. Both buildings were evacuated. The police told us they're investigating the live threats. They also said candidates from the Lexington Police Department and UK police were called into the school buildings. And this is what they said on their Facebook. Law enforcement is not allowing anyone to send a premises, this and that and the other. The safety of our students is number one priority. But district leaders said there will be extra police at the schools on tomorrow. So today there must have been a lot of police officers. That's number 1. Number 2. A 13-year-old in Collier County has been a 13-year-old Collier County student has been arrested for a school threat related to social media. They announced on Monday of that 13-year-old. They arrested a 13-year-old following an investigation into a social media threat. The 13-year-old is a former student at East Naples School and is currently a student at the New Beginnings Naples Alternative Education Center. They found the student was responsible for the threat of violence made against their former school via social media. However, the public schools was very lightheaded by this arrest and the student who was arrested. The student was initially taken to the Collier County Jail and is now with the Florida Department of Juvenile Justice. Monday afternoon, parents received an email from the school's principal, Mary Ann Gallagher, with the subject line school safety. That didn't get much detail, just that someone had been arrested for making unpleasant comments. In that same email sent out by the principal, she said this ended with an arrest because she saw someone and said something. Even Falloff admitted she didn't know she was bad. Oh wow, I didn't know it was that bad. But East Naples Middle School is just the latest thing the school's mentioning threats on social media. Lizette Forbes says she's considering keeping children at home. They had one right before the holidays. I almost kept them from home because I got scared. I didn't want anything to happen. And this is from their Twitter account. Number 3. This is from Great Falls. A juvenile arrested for threats against students and faculty at Sims High School. A juvenile from Great Falls was arrested after repeatedly making threats against students and faculty at Sims High School. The sheriff's office said deputies were dispatched after 11 p.m. on Sunday. That was just 2 days ago. Deputies were able to see text messages making violent threats against students and faculty. Deputies identified the suspect and arrested him during a formal interview, which was done in the presence of his father. The suspect admitted to sending the messages, and this was from a court document which says, in part, the victim then again asked who it was, and was replied with, "Don't tell anyone," to include teachers and principals. The messages said, "I'm just letting you know now, stay home tomorrow. There'll be a school shooting at Sims High School. If you tell your friends, I will come and kill all of you." And another one said, "It's either one of your final warnings." And this one also said, this is from the suspect. He says, "No one likes it when I get impatient." The victim was also in contact with several other from the Sim school who were receiving the messages. But for now, he was taken to the juvenile detention center and is facing a charge of felony intimidation. But this will be updated as soon as you get more information. When we come back, there are more school threats, including two juveniles who were involved in social media threats. What happened? Stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just joining us for this first half of the show, we're focusing on more threats. It's just that I was about to go to sleep. There was like 7 threats. There were 7 threats happening in one day. Focused on 3 now. This is number 4. There were 2 juveniles involved in the social media threats. This was in Ohio. The county sheriff was contacted by Monday by a parent saying her child saw threats from another student. But according to the sheriff's department, the threats made on social media were directed toward Northwest schools, and the threats were a potential shooting. Deputies began their investigation and found that several juveniles were in a group on the Messenger app. Messages were uploaded to Snapchat, and a message read, "If you go to Northwest school," quote, and I quote, "If you go to the Northwest school, be safe tomorrow. Someone is bringing AR to the school." Several juveniles participated in a group chat, and the conversation led others to believe that they were going to bring a gun to school. Deputies made contact with the 2 juvenile suspects, spoke to the school officials and witnesses. As a result, the investigation was submitted to the prosecutor's office, juvenile division for review potential charges. They will appear in county juvenile court today. But the sheriff said deputies were at schools Monday morning before students arrived to ensure the safety of students and staff. And there'll be latest information as this continues. Now another one. This time in Orange County. Student arrested following a threat to Orange County Elementary School. This was in Orlando, Florida. An arrest has been made in connection with a possible threat made on social media to an Orange County elementary school, according to school officials. Greenfield School in Orlando posted on Sunday morning on Facebook notifying parents of a possible threat, and there will be increased security Monday at school. But following the arrest, school officials said there would be excess security and abundance of caution. This is a part from their post. "We have an update on social media post to be notified you earlier today. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office made an official arrest of the creator of the post today. The person is a non-OCPS student. Police will be visiting the home of another student possibly involved. There will be excess security on campus out of abundance of caution for tomorrow and the safety of our students and staff." But the information about the student arrested, including his or her age, has not been released. So yeah, that's all the threats happening. But this month is the beginning of Black History Month. At least 6 historically black universities in 5 states and the District of Columbia responded to bomb threats made in a single day, with many of them locking down for the campuses for a time. This was in Workstock, Galveston. At least half a dozen historically black universities in 5 states of the District of Columbia were responding to bomb threats Monday, with many of them locking down the campuses for a time. Both the FBI and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Fire, and Explosives are investigating. The agencies said in separate statements. In Georgia, Albany State warned students and faculty on social media that a bomb has been issued to Albany State University's academic buildings. And then a school in Southern University A&M College in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they told students to stay in their dormitories Monday morning and to search for any suspicious devices. The university gave an all clear to the day. Normal campus operation was expected to resume Tuesday, according to school officials. At Bowie State University, Maryland, school officials told everyone on campus to shelter in place until the information was available. Explosive protection dogs and bomb technicians were helping campus police to sweep buildings and state fire marshals. Then the office said in a statement, the campus was later open Monday after a search by local, state, and federal law enforcement officers found no explosive devices. In the state of Florida, Daytona Beach police said in a tweet that day they gave an all clear. Monday's bomb scares came one day before the start of Black History Month, less than a month after a series of bomb threats made to multiple historically black universities on January 4th. And this was helpful, but from the Associated Press. I mean, this is what the Associated Press said. But now that we covered all these school threats, the question becomes, who is to blame for all these threats? The answer when we return. Before we continue our main topic, there was a security breach after 1 week of kids going back to Oxford High. Take a look.
Just 1 week after students returned to Oxford High School, changes are being made after a security breach at the school.
Yeah, this happened last week when the district says an unauthorized student was allowed on campus. Defender Sean Lay live with more on this. And Sean, the district sent out a rather lengthy letter to explain how this happened.
There was a long letter and email with a long video from the superintendent of Oxford Schools put up on YouTube to explain to students and parents why they would see different and new security at the doors this morning. Superintendent of Oxford Schools Tim Throne putting this video message on YouTube after students went back to Oxford High for the first time last week since the November 30th school shooting, only to have an alarming security breach at Oxford High last Thursday.
We had an issue of a student entering the building on Thursday, and that's really what the heart of this message really pertains. My cabinet members, our administrators have been working around the clock determining what happened, what type of temporary actions we can take moving forward to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
The district says the issue, a student suspended for dumping a deer head on campus November 4th, causing concern, causing speculation, entered the school on Thursday and went to class, despite not being allowed back into Oxford High School. Security and the school resource officer escorted the student to the office where his backpack was checked. And starting today, new rules. Students must present their IDs and clear backpacks when entering school.
We don't want them to be anxious. We don't want them to be surprised for how they're greeted on Monday.
Now, the district also explained that the student in question here went to school last Thursday morning because he actually thought he was supposed to go to school that day, even though he was suspended. He was allowed to to come back at the start of the second semester. Well, that is today. Well, after talking to the student and his parents, he has agreed to go to a different school now. We're live tonight. Sean Light, Local 4 Devin, back to you.
I'll take it, Sean. We appreciate it.
And here's the thing. If you're suspended from school, you can't, if you're suspended from school, being out of school suspension, you can't come in. If you're expelled, you're not allowed to come in. Think of the movie Expelled. This kid gets expelled for the number of pranks he's did. Number one, what he did was for rewriting the cheerleaders' charity thing for koala bear function. Number two was for a picture of a teacher. And number three, for hacking the vending machines. He was expelled. That's because of a 3-strike policy at some schools. So why did he come back? He didn't know. If you're suspended, then it's on the paper. And you should have had a document saying you were suspended. I don't think there was a documentation saying, hey, this guy was suspended, please do not allow him on. And yet, if you come back on campus when you're supposed to be suspended, you could be arrested for trespassing. And there's nothing new about the Oxford other than this incident, so that's really some good news. Now, going back to our main focus here. Who do we blame for these school threats? Well, back in December, before Christmas, we blamed TikTok. But we ought to be blaming parents. Yeah, we ought to be blaming parents for not monitoring what goes on in social media. That's what we blame. We blame these two people, TikTok and social media. But TikTok's saying we don't encourage this kind of stuff. And what about Facebook? What does Facebook have to say? Basically, we have to say, well, we don't encourage this kind of stuff. Well, of course you don't encourage this kind of stuff because all you're doing is sitting there going, you don't care. You're sitting there going, you're probably sitting there going, oh, oh, we don't encourage these people to make threats. Well, I understand you don't support it. But, again, and why do I blame the parents for this? Well, basically because the parents are not doing a very good job monitoring their child's phone. Which brings us to Kentucky. 18-year-old Cameron Craddock is charged with 2 counts of first-degree terroristic threatening, according to the state police. So we blame students. We blame the students. We blame TikTok, and we blame the parents. And stuff like this happens for a reason. And just 1 hour and just minutes ago, and just an hour ago, bomb threat forces KSG to be in lockdown into lockdown day after 2 bomb threats. But the investigation is completely out and all clues were given. The shelter in place was lifted, but now is a safe return to campus. Classes remain virtual on today and return normal tomorrow. There was a third bomb threat in 2 days that shut down another educational institution in Franklin County. Kentucky State University of Franklin was currently on lockdown due to a bomb that was made early in the morning on today, according to a press release from KSU. The university is working with the emergency to evaluate the situation. After conducting an investigation, this person was arrested. The bomb threat comes only a day after 2 more bomb threats were made in 2 separate schools. A suspect has been arrested in connection to that incident. But students are instructed to attend classes virtually and employees to work remotely this time. So that's great news. So that's why I blame this kid for what he's doing. He has to know that what he did was wrong. And he has to know what he did was wrong, and if he knew what he did was wrong, why did he do it? There were 3 bomb threats. And that's exactly what I blame. There were 3 bomb threats, and this person decided to to make these 3 bomb threats. And from the Seattle Times, we all know threats of violence have serious consequences in Seattle schools. It's become the modern version of pulling the fire alarm. Charges were filed this month against a 17-year-old student who threatened to carry out a school shooting in Franklin High School last month. Students were charged with 1 count in felony harassment for threatening to kill and false reporting, according to court documents filed with the King County Supreme Court. Threats in Seattle schools don't have to be hoaxes, but still, threats, even if they are pranks, are taken immensely seriously. Student arrests in connection with school threats also concerned elsewhere. Washington. Intensely, frequently, a threat spiked between Thanksgiving break and the last few weeks of September. A 5th student impounded in this room has since been started for school year. All because they don't want to go to school. And now comes word, this comes word of last week's. This comes word of last week's 911 call. Basically because this person didn't want to go to school. Listen, I don't want to go to school. I didn't want to go to school either. But I went there. The whole purpose of you going to school all day, every day is to get an education. That's why you're here. Go to school, learn, get your diploma, get on with your life. You keep doing things to interrupt that process, and this is one of those things. And now this 15-year-old charged as an adult is in a juvenile hall, is in an adult jail, while the rest under 18 are in detention centers. That's who we blame. Back in a moment. If you saw the Channel 6 report on Friday, a father spoke out about bullying after his son committed suicide at 13. On the second half of Give Me a Break, I'm going to dedicate a half hour to this bullying with new stories and what can be done and show you the warning signs. Also talk with some parents who have been bullied and their kids too, and what can be done. That's on the second half of Give Me a Break. So look for that. Look for that. So look for that at 5 o'clock. So look at that at 4:30 to 5. That's all for this first half of Give Me a Break. I'll see you again in a few hours for the second half of Give Me a Break. Follow us here at YouTube. I'll see you then.